standing outside the door of love and mercy. You wonder if there's a place here for you.
You know there's peace inside, but still you're searching for someone who understands the pain you've been through.
Well, the Spirit waits with open arms, that's calling out your name. Come on in, welcome home. You are loved and you belong here now. No matter where you've been, come on in. Come on in. Come on in.
You'll find a place of rest in the arms of Spirit. We've waited so long for your homecoming day.
God knows the peace you need and the hurt you're feeling. Spirit wants to hold you and to wipe your tears away.
Well, the door's unlocked, the lights are on. What are you waiting for? Come on in, welcome home. You are loved and you belong here now. No matter where you've been,
come on in.
Come on in.
There is room enough in this home of love for someone just like you. Come on in, welcome home. You are loved and you belong here now. No matter where you've been, come on in, welcome home. You are loved and you belong here now. No matter where you've been, welcome home. Come on, welcome in. Welcome home. Come on, welcome in. You are loved and you belong here. You are loved and you belong here. Come on in. Aloha kakahiaka.
Aloha.
Welcome home. Come on in. You are loved and you belong here now. And we want you to extend that welcome and say, welcome back to Alethea Train for this Sunday.
One night only, one night only.
So please stand as you are able. And let's be aloha. Aloha is a word that has so many meanings, like saying hello and goodbye. It means how are you and I miss you so, and I hope you're feeling alright. But most of all, it's the spirit from within that makes you feel so good inside. Aloha means with all my heart, all my love to you. You gotta be aloha. Aloha brings us all together. Sing aloha if you're looking for a piece of heaven. Sing aloha, reach out and lend a helping hand. You gotta be aloha. Aloha, the heartbeat of this land. You gotta be aloha. Aloha brings us all together. Sing aloha if you're looking for a piece of heaven. Sing
A heartbeat of this land. Yes, indeed. Good and glorious morning, friends, and welcome. Welcome to Unity Church of Hawaii. We're centered in God. We elevate global consciousness through the realization of oneness. I am so delighted to be here with each one of you this Aloha Sunday. And as I prepare to board a plane tomorrow night to head home to my other home of Alaska for the month of February, burr, you think we got our burr on now? I'm going to go get my burr on. I will be taking that sense, that love and aloha with me, and it will keep me warm. So thank you. Friends, Unity is a spiritual, educational, and healing movement where we recognize all people on all spiritual paths. We absolutely stand solid and celebrate the diversity of who we are. And our co-founders, Myrtle and Charles Fillmore, they believed in that. And they taught that spiritual principle of a oneness. They said we are all united in love. We are all united in the whole and holiness of the divine. And they shared with us how we could stand up and recognize that within ourselves. They said, you too can know the truth. And they taught us how to preach and be in that space of truth by practicing what we call positive affirmations. And friends, this morning as I was leaning into my spiritual practices and I was feeling into this thing of faith, because we are in the month of faith right now, these words came true and through me this morning. And the words were simply courageous action. Sometimes we're called to courageous action in our own lives. Sometimes we're called to courageous action in our world. Sometimes we're called to courageous action in our spiritual communities and our families. And so, friends, today I'd like you to join me in tapping into your courageous action. What are you called to? So let's claim this for ourselves. Please take a breath and repeat after me. I stand in faith. I stand in faith. I take courageous action. I take courageous action with compassion and love. With compassion and love. And so it is. And now, friends, please rise on up and greet your neighbor with some love and aloha. Aloha.
Great. Good Sunday.
Oh, no, nothing.
We ask that you please remain standing as you are able. And let's make sure that love is our decision. Love is my decision. It's up to me to give of my heart. Love
decision right here and now. My decision right here and now.
Aloha. It's so good to have all of you here. Wonderful group of people here today. Aloha. I'm Reverend Tim Lytle, Senior Minister here at Unity Church of Hawaii, and we want to welcome you here. And if this is your first time, or first time since I became the Senior Minister here, we want to extend a special welcome to you. And we have a kukui nut lei, which is our gift to you that represents being the light of the world. And we have a packet of information about our church, which also contains a free breakfast pass for our breakfast over here. But this is Aloha Sunday, so you will have free breakfast anyway. So bring that back next week or the week after that, whenever you would like to come back and use that free breakfast pass. So if this is your first time here, or first time since I've been the senior minister here, would you please stand as our amazing greeters and ushers come to you? Thank you. Thank you for being here. All right, thank you for coming. We have some people who are bringing you a kukui nut lei, and who are also, so right here, these folks sat down, they're from Vancouver, and yeah, let's bring those wonderful gifts. And out here on the side, thank you for joining us. Aloha, so good to have you with us here. All right, we have two right here, let's see, right here, thank you. Wonderful group, wonderful group. Yeah. All right, so good to have you all here. Thank you. All right, let's get the energy going because we're going to give a love blast to all of these wonderful people. If you wish to stand, you can, or if you want to remain sitting, you can do that. But we want to give you a blessing and everyone in between. All right, so repeat after me. We bless you.
We bless you.
We recognize who you really are. You are the love and light of God.
You are the love and light of God.
Here on this planet. To do amazing things. And we are here to love you, to support you, and to celebrate you. Welcome to Unity. Thank you for being with us. All right. If you want the more sedate blessing, come to the 9 o'clock. Anyway, thanks for being here. And we have a wonderful group of people all over the world. India and Colombia, Switzerland, Denmark, all over the world that watch us love streaming. And so we're so grateful for all of our love streamers, or those who watch us on Alelo Television or listen to us on KSUN Radio in Wichita, Kansas. Let's give a shaka back here to all of our wonderful love streamers. We love you. Thank you for joining us. And we know that where you are, God is. All of God is fully and completely present right where you are. So everything you need is right where you are. And because God is fully present here as there, we are one ohana. We are one family, and we welcome you. Let's give them some love. Thank you. All right, assisting us today on the platform is the effulgent, effervescent, ever-loving, and bright Cindy Hensley, who is a religious science practitioner, and also helping us with our daily word and meditation is Brian Toucheron, licensed Unity teacher candidate. And on your way to breakfast this morning, when you go down these steps and go through here, you can find a wonderful copy of the Daily Word that is waiting for you. So, Cindy, you got some news for us?
I'm telling you what, we got some news. We got lots of news. And you can find the news in your bulletin. Everything Unity and more is right here in your bulletin. So follow along with me if you will. The first and good news is that each one of us is here. So give yourselves a hand. We are the good news. Right on. The next best good news is that we have been so honored to have our Aloha sponsored this morning by Bob Schornsteimer. And Bob is donating this breakfast in memory of his beloved mom, and her name was Ruth Isaac. And Sally Hartman, are you in the house? Sally is Bob's sister, and there we all are. And so, hey, right here, there our people are, right here, loving the... Oh, this is Ruth's husband. Hi. Okay, can I just say that Ruth is a divine light shining. And when Ruth transitioned and left Earth School 3 years ago, Ruth was 96 and a half years old. So we celebrate her today. Amen to Ruth. Her light continues to shine through each one of us. So thanks for being here. Right on. Woohoo. All right, so today, as you're heading down to Connection Central and getting your breakfast, you might be wondering, I wonder what's on the menu. Well, let me just tell you. I'll tell you what's on the menu. We got some yummy breakfast casserole with eggs and yumminess. We got some sausage. We got a little salad for those of us who are getting the green on. And best of all, we got some strawberry cake. So go see Dillard and vegan. And there's a vegan option. Do not forget us vegans up here. There's a vegan option. And please see Dillard and Susan down in the Courtyard Cafe and give them some love. So that's what's happening then. All right, on your way to the Courtyard Cafe, you can stop by Connection Central, and your end-of-year donations are available. So please stop by if you're a member and pick up your end-of-year donations. And if you don't pick it up today, it will be mailed to you. Also, while you're in Connection Central, because there's so much going on, the membership list has been printed. We need you, if you are a member, to stop by. Check the spelling of your name. Make sure you're on the membership list, okay, first and foremost. And also make sure that your name is spelled correctly as it is on your piece of ID. All right, for those of you who are wondering and you're new, you're like, what's going on with all this membership? Sounds like there might be an election. Well, guess what? There is. There's an election here coming up at Unity Church of Hawaii. It's going to be in March, and we are preparing for it. So, ready? Courageous action. If it is on your heart to take that step into courageous action, we have 3 spots available on our board of trustees. You're like, hey, I want to be on the board of trustees. Well, then I'm saying to you, you can check it out by talking to Reverend Tim or Mr. Man over there, Thomas Gallagher. So if it's called to you to be on the board of trustees, see one of these guys after service today. There's a few recommendations and qualifications that you need to have. If you're like, yeah, I'm not really feeling like being on the board, but I like to count ballots. Counting is my thing. Then let me just say, see me after service and we can hook you up to be a ballot counter, all right? All right. And finally, they're like, is she done? Almost. Today, at 1 o'clock, right here, go get your breakfast, have a moment, come back and join us for Town Hall. This is an opportunity for us to come together. Our Board of Trustees is going to be here. They're going to be available to answer any questions that are on our heart. If you're feeling like, hey, I want to have the microphone, this is your time to have the microphone. It's all good and it's all God. All right? So friends, join us at 1 o'clock here for the Town Hall. And with that, take a breath, if you will. And know that we are all one.
We are one. We are one. I am you, you are me. We are one. In this unity, we will live in harmony, and peace will come, 'cause we are one.
It is so wonderful to have all of you here, and Ogalucia and I will be gone next Sunday, but we'll be back. Our last 2 official Sundays here will be February 10th and February 17th. will be going to Unity in Marin, Northern California, if you had not heard that. They also live stream. This is a shameless advertisement. They archive the services. You can watch us anytime. Just let that in. Subtle. And I want us to hold our spiritual community in prayer. Many things are going on here, and we just hold this wonderful spiritual community in prayer. All of you, all of the needs represented here, all of those who are love streaming, and whatever is going on in your heart, in your families, in your lives, and in our country, in our world. Today I'm going to be talking about working with the shadow, doing some shadow work. And it's up to all of us. I invite you to take a deep breath. And if you wish, close your eyes or relax your gaze. And in this moment, we know that there is truly only one power and one presence, active as our lives and as the universe. God the good, omnipotence. Right now, God, we open our hearts, we open our minds, we open our spirits. We are in the presence. In this presence, we lift up our world, we lift up our country, we lift up our loved ones, and in a moment of silence, we lift up the intentions, requests, and thanksgiving of our own hearts. Spirit, we are grateful for your presence, knowing that this service is anointed. The music, the spoken word, that whether love streaming or here physically, that our needs are met, that wherever we are, you are. And we give thanks as we move deeper and deeper into this spirit of prayer. We give thanks and we say together, and so it is. Amen.
I pray you'll be our eyes and watch us where we go and help us to be wise in times when we don't know. Let this be our prayer when we lose our way. Lead us to a place, guide us with your grace, to a place where we'll be safe. Ilamano mako epapoli ai elipo mai kapo ike us with your grace. Give us faith so we'll be saved.
The daily word for today is seize the moment. And the affirmation for today is, I embrace the possibilities for good in this moment. Let's state this affirmation of truth together. I embrace the for good in this moment. In her book, Lessons in Truth, Emily Cady shares this affirmation. I am a manifestation of God. In every moment, divine life, love, wisdom, power flow into and through me. Her words inspire me to begin thinking of problems as possibilities. I ask myself, what good thing is ready to happen in my life right now? I recognize my divine nature, and my perspective transforms. I find meaning in every situation, every moment. The statement, wherever I am, God is, becomes a vibrant reality. Unlimited divine life, love, wisdom, and power are mine to use, not only as I move through major life events, but also in ordinary moments of everyday life. God's life, love, wisdom, and power express in my decision and in my actions. And from John chapter 3, verse 18, let us love, not in word or speech, but in truth and action. Now, in this ever-present moment, let us settle in. We may close our eyes or dim our gaze and allow the truth, this divine right action that is God, ever present within us, to unfold within our hearts, our minds, and our very beings. Let us know that there is no obstacle or undesirable circumstance to the mind of God that is in us, around us, and serves us now. For everything and everyone is here for this glorious good, for this glorious moment. Let us know that all is well. All is well. Let us rest in the truth of this knowing right now. We now claim that this awakened truth is within us, that this realized presence of God is here, present within our minds, our hearts, our very consciousness. We now know that there is good within all things, and we now look to see upon appearance and see the presence of God within all things, within all situations, and within all people. And we know that this moment, and in all moments, there is the perfect presence and the perfect peace. And we allow it to carry us home. And with this, we say thank you, God. So it is.
Beloved one who art in heaven, hallowed be
be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive our errors as we forgive each other, and so forgive ourselves. And leave us not in times of trial, but deliver us from fear. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory. Let all the people say amen. In every tribe and tongue, let every soul in song rejoice to see the kingdom come. Let every hope and every dream be born in us again. Let all the world sing with one voice. Let the people say amen. Let all the people say amen. In every tribe and tongue, let every soul in song rejoice to see the kingdom come. Let every hope and every dream be born in us again. Let all the world sing with one voice. Let the people say amen. 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 Amen.
Thank you, Zamar, and it's good to have Alethea with us today. She doesn't like attention. That's why we divert all this attention to her. And the amazing band, thank you. Oh, how fun. Well, it's so good to have all of you here. And you know, the spiritual life is a call to do some deep work. It's not a call to just sit back and relax and feel good. But the spiritual life is a call to do some deep inner work. Now, this is one of the things people don't like about unity, and it's one of the things that many people love about unity, is that we invite people to take responsibility for their own lives, knowing that we can change our lives, knowing that we can create our lives to be what we want it to be. But we cannot do that without doing something that I'm going to be talking about today, which is shadow work. Shadow work is a very important component of the spiritual journey, because you can only do so many affirmations and so many this and that we talk about with that, until you run into the shadow. Now, the shadow is not something that is bad, although many of us have learned to think of some of these things that we've repressed over the years as being bad. I remember when I was a child, that very clearly. And I would get up in the classroom and I would sing. I would dance. I would talk to all the people there. I wanted to be speaking. And my teachers said there was something wrong with me. They said that there was something really aberrant about me, that somehow I, was a mess, basically. And so now what do? I speak, I dance, I sing, because that's part of who I am. And I use that for what I do. It's not, thank you. We're not all supposed to be the same, right? Otherwise it'd be very, very boring. So all of us have within us these things that we are called to do, but sometimes someone has told us, oh, you can't do that. You can't feel that. You can't be that. Sometimes that shadow side can have some darker tones to it, darker in the sense of anger, resentments, maybe coming from abuse or trauma in our past. And as I said in the 9 o'clock service, if I was going to a church to be the guest speaker, this is not the message I would give. Because typically people come to church, they're wanting to feel better, and they're wanting to feel good about themselves, and you should. But here's the secret. In order to really begin to experience more and more freedom and liberation in our lives, we need to be willing to face our shadow side. Our shadow side, again, is that part of ourselves that we are unaware of, that has been pressed down. It doesn't mean that it's bad, although we may have called it bad. We may have called our anger bad. We may have called our jealousy bad. We may have called our whatever tendency we may have going on inside. And as we press it down, and there is this phrase in unity that what you resist persists, because we're giving it more energy by resisting it. What we press down tends to gain even more energy and then come out sideways, come out in ways that are acting out, come out in ways that are destructive to ourselves and to others around us. Like in anger, with aggression, with, whatever it might be that's in that shadow. So this is very much a part of our spiritual journey, but it's not necessarily the most fun part. Now, last night, I just had some time of meditation up in my office just to sit with my shadow, just to be there. And what is it I'm feeling, So if there were feelings of pain, feelings of angst or anxiety, I just sat with it and just allowed myself to be with it and embrace it. And, okay, where is this coming from? And it's interesting that as I would sit with it, as I'm sitting with it, it's casting some light on it. And I begin to realize that it's not something bad, and it begins to transmute. It begins to integrate into my life instead of becoming something other. Many of us put on a mask and try to be something other than what we may be feeling on the inside. And unity is no exception to this, and many churches, and it's nice. I love the way you show up. And behind each one of our personas, behind that mask, behind that appearance, there might be a great deal of things going on that we don't necessarily want to broadcast to the world. We may not even be aware of ourselves. And that which we are unaware of controls us. That which we are unaware of that is in our lives has power over us and leads us to behave in ways that we're not even aware of. I grew up in a wonderful church, and a number of my family members are still involved in this church, the Church of the Nazarene. When I was 3 years old, and this is documented, I gave my first sermon. And my sermon was on the topic, if you can imagine a 3-year-old speaking on the topic of entire sanctification. That tells you something about my family background. In that particular movement, like Church of the Nazarene and Free Methodists and Salvation Army has this doctrine as well, what's called the holiness movement. There's this doctrine of entire sanctification. And it's a very wonderful doctrine about the Holy Spirit coming in and cleansing away all original sin, because we were very much taught about original sin, and the tendency to sin, so that if a person was entirely sanctified, then there was supposed to not be any tendency towards what they would define as sin. And board members, church leaders, ministers were expected to be able to stand up and speak to the fact that they had been entirely sanctified, that all the proclivity to sin has been washed away. Hallelujah.
Amen, brother.
Amen. You know about this stuff, right? And what would happen then when a leader had envy and jealousy and anger and, that yucky stuff, they couldn't see it in themselves because, I'm entirely sanctified. So, however they happen to act, it was the other person's problem. How convenient. And then they could say, it's righteous indignation. I wasn't angry. And so I would see this amazing denial process about what was going on inside of them. And I was thinking, wow, if they could just embrace it and own it and learn to work with it in ways that are healthy, instead of projecting it out onto others and beating others up, it really would be a holiness church. And some of them are watching. Thank you. And we all have our issues, right? We all have our issues. All of us have a shadow side. And if you don't know that, that means that your shadow is in control. Let me say that again, and I didn't say it in the 9 o'clock, because at 9 o'clock I'm just getting warmed up. Aren't you glad you came to the 11th? If you are unaware of your shadow side, it means your shadow is controlling your behavior. Because all of us have a shadow side. We can talk about light and love. And, my good friend, Reverend Paul Hasselbeck, who wrote Heart-Centered Metaphysics, was talking with me one day. I believe it was at lunch. And he said, Tim, I have this theory. I have this theory that in unity we focus so much on the light that what comes up is the shadow side, and we don't know what to do with it. Now, in our spiritual work, individually and in this congregation, in our country, and in our world, we are called to do shadow work. Shadow work is not only individual, it's corporate. It's gone corporate. It's corporate in the sense that it can be in a church body. There can be an unexplored shadow side that people are unaware of. It can be a tendency towards anger and distrust that continues to resurface and recycle in the life of a particular place, and people don't know where it's coming from. That's the shadow side. It needs to be explored. We need to be aware of it. We need to embrace it and see what it has to teach us. Because the shadow has a lot to teach us. The shadow knows. Do any of you remember radio programs? Now, I heard them years later, but I was enthralled with these replays of this show about the shadow. And I can remember this very dramatic voice that would say, "Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The shadow knows." Yeah. And so when I first went into clinical pastoral education, having come from the Church of the Nazarene and having suppressed a lot of things, and they were uncovering stuff in me, they found so much of this stuff in me. I got the nickname Shadow Man. A shadow. It's in each one of us. This stuff that we don't necessarily want people to see. You know, and it's not necessarily pleasant to look at. As I was sitting with it last night, I thought, well, what are you going to do? Kill me? Just let me sit with this. And it wasn't pleasant at first. But as I sat with it and embraced it and acknowledged and was aware of what it was, casting light on it, then, I could integrate this. And it's like, that's what's going on in me. Instead of just projecting it onto others. Which, can be very convenient. And, there are, how do I want to say this in a unity church? I'm just going to say it, and then we'll work out the doctrine later. There are forces in our world that are malevolent. There are forces in our world that don't want your highest and best. But yet we know there's only truly one power and one presence. So it's like, okay, what will we do with this? Well, it's that shadow side that people have not learned to work with. And our shadow side comes out in our government. It comes out in other countries. It comes out in our world. And if we really want to bring peace to this world, it needs to start with us. It needs to, where we need to light up our own shadow life. Yeah? So, we're going to have a full screen here. We're going to get to some graphics. I want to show you the picture of our shadow side. Okay, so here's the persona, the mask. What we show the world. And some of us get very, very good at that. Okay, this is how we show up. And then when someone sees us acting in some way that's really different, like, my wife will say, I'm going to tell the church how you act. Oops. That's when the personas come off. Right? So, behind the persona, okay, here's our consciousness. And look at this, how much of the shadow there is. Now, the shadow can be a rich field of exploration and can teach us so much if we're willing to sit with it. Now, those of you who don't believe that you have a shadow side, think of someone who really irritates you. Let's do this. Think of someone who really irritates you. I mean, them just showing up irritates you. How dare they be them? All right, just think of that person. And think about this. Do they remind you of someone? Do they remind you of someone from your past? Maybe a mother, a father, a brother, a sister, a teacher, an auntie. Do they remind you of somebody? And maybe when you were little, you couldn't do anything about it. And now that you're an adult, you just like to smack them around. Is there anybody like that in your life? And if not, I pray that you find somebody. So that you can work on your own shadow. Yeah? And so you know that your shadow is in operation and in control when you realize, that person reminds me of my dad. That person reminds me of my sister. That person, that's when your shadow is in full bloom and you're not totally aware of it. Again, this is a very important part of the spiritual journey. A lot of churches try to take a short circuit, try to take a bypass around this work. And it's like, if it's in Church Nazarene, just pray more. If it's unity, say more affirmations. And all of that is good. But we need to do the in-depth work of really embracing and being aware of our own shadow. It's spiritual work. It's so spiritual that many churches don't want to do it. It's not religious, it's spiritual. It's so spiritual, many churches don't want to do it. Debbie Ford, who recently made her transition, wonderful person who did a lot of work with the shadow, has a wonderful film, at least one film about it. I'd recommend it for this congregation, about doing shadow work and embracing the shadow. And she trained hundreds of shadow workers who could be around the country or the world to do shadow work with congregations, with organizations. Debbie Ford said, when we deny ourselves a safe outlet to express our dark side or refuse to even acknowledge its existence, it builds up and becomes a powerful force capable of destroying our life as well as the lives of those around us. Because you suppressing it isn't going to make it go away. That actually gives it more power. It's only by integrating it, embracing it, being aware of it, loving it, that we can begin to transmute it and find ways in which we can learn from it. Because the shadow knows a great deal. Did you know that when you connect with your shadow, you can heal profound fears and traumas? Many of us try to run from our fears and traumas instead of just feeling them and moving through them. Yeah. I used to have a fear of even really interacting with people and standing up for myself. I needed to face that fear and see, what is that about? What's that about? It was so many weird, funny things. I mean, one of the things was, here's an odd fear. You ready? This is confession time. I loved my dad so much and I held him in such high esteem. I didn't want to do anything where I would ever outshine him. I never wanted to step into my own greatness. I didn't want to steal any light from him. So I learned to play dumb. I learned to play stupid. That's part of my shadow. Yeah? When I was interviewing with Unity and Marin, I had a psychotherapist on the interviewing committee, and then, all these people have done all this in-depth shadow work. And so one of the interview questions was, tell us about your shadow and what you do with it. That's a great interview question. I recommend it for any candidate for the Board of Trustees. Or for any staff member, or for any of us who are in this spiritual work, and especially those of us who are in leadership. We need to ask, what do you do with your shadow side? Tell us about your shadow side. Hey, this is all of us. We're all in this together. And again, if you say you don't have one, then you're being controlled by it. And if you can't talk about it, then you're unaware of it. We need to embrace this, work with it. It's not always fun. Did you think spirituality was always going to be fun? Newsflash. Spiritual work can be difficult, challenging work. Well, no one ran out of the service. I'm so grateful. Carl Jung, who, was a student and colleague of Sigmund Freud, did a lot of work with the shadow. And he says, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Have you ever watched Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? Any of those? I mean, I think the first one was made like in 1931 or something. Then there was a remake in 1955. And there's been various versions. Maybe the most recent was 2003 or something like that. And it's about this doctor, Dr. Jekyll, who is convinced that within the human psyche is this unexplored depth, these sometimes violent, aggressive emotions, some of these things that we don't like to look at. And he comes up with this concoction. In some versions, it's something he drinks. In another one, it's something he injects. But it's this concoction that brings the shadow side forth. Mr. Hyde. I think it's on purpose that he has that name, Mr. Hyde. Our shadow often is in hiding. We're often unaware of it. And when the shadow was in control in his life, Mr. Hyde, wow. He was a dangerous character when the shadow was in control. The best way for us to do this spiritual work is to be aware of that shadow side. Love it, embrace it in ourselves. And when we can do that in ourselves, then we can begin to do it with another. Here's the unfortunate news. You can't change another person. I know it. Sucks, doesn't it? I'm telling you, I'm just giving you all this news. It's like, why did I come to church today? You can't change anybody else. But you can work on yourself. I saw Elaine Wong running around with a Gandhi shirt that says, be the change. Be the change you want to see in the world. It needs to start with us. And then when we do that, then we can create a vessel, an environment whereby others can do that work. And that's really what the spiritual life is about, is creating a safe space whereby people can do their spiritual work with themselves and with each other, revealing the Christ that we are. That's what we're here for. I've been in lots of different traditions and different spiritual communities. And what I've found is that it's destructive when people have not done their own shadow work. And it comes out in harsh, destructive ways. We need to do our work, each one of us, wherever we are, congregant, leader, minister. Hey, I got my shadow side. Oh my goodness. I got all kinds of stuff, I'd even thought, about me and my shadow. But I know about it. I'm embracing it. Sometimes it scares me. Sometimes I don't like it. But it's important to know what's going on inside. So that our lives, this spiritual community, this country has a shadow side. Oh my gosh. Prejudice, the way we've treated the native indigenous peoples, the ways in which we have created inequality. We have a shadow side that we're afraid to talk about. And we project it on the others and make them bad, make them the other. Countries do that. The world does that. It is time for us to look sincerely at our shadow side. I was in a workshop with Unity Worldwide Ministries, and this was about racial inequality. And we did some down and dirty talking about some of the prejudice that people had experienced in their lives, the effects of that, prejudice that we ourselves had held, the effects that had in our lives. We got real. It's time for us to get real. Now there's this voice, sometimes the parent's voice, don't do it, no, don't do don't go there. Don't open that door. No. And there's this book. It's written by George MacDonald. George MacDonald was the mentor of C.S. Lewis. A lot of you may know of C.S. Lewis, the writer. George MacDonald was a Scottish clergyman that, I'm sorry, Clive Staples Lewis, that you took a lot from, because I've read both, and a lot of the ideas and metaphors are taken from George MacDonald. And he has this one book where this man is told over and over again, don't open that door, don't open it, no. Well, it just made him curious, so he opened it. And he saw this dark figure start running towards him. It turned out to be a shadow. And he didn't know what to do with it. It scared him. Embrace it. Stop projecting it on the others. Embrace it. Learn who you really are. Do the deep work. Do it. Do it. Even if something inside you says, don't. Yeah. Do it. And step out in faith. Aloha.
Everybody says don't, everybody says don't, everybody says don't do the right, don't, it isn't nice. Everybody says don't, everybody says don't, everybody says don't walk on the grass, don't upset the peace, don't step on the ice. Well, I say do, I say step on the grass with hope to feel, I say sail, tilt to the windmill, and if you fail, you fail. Everybody says don't, everybody says don't, everybody says don't disturb the peace. When you hear that end, it's a time sign. 9 times out of 10, you know you're doing just fine. Make just a ripple. Come on, be brave. First it's a ripple, next time a wave. Sometimes you have to start small, climbing the tiniest wall. Maybe you're going to fall, but it's better than not starting at all. Everybody says no, everybody says stop, everybody says mustn't rock the boat, mustn't touch a thing. Everybody says don't, everybody says wait, everybody says can't fight City Hall, can't upset the cart, can't laugh at the king. Well, I say try, I say laugh at the king, holy wake you cry, I say go, don't lose the pain, if you know, you know. Everybody says no, everybody says no, everybody says stop, everybody says wait around for miracles. That's the way that's got to be. Wait around for miracles. Nothing to them, miracles. You can do them. I say don't be afraid.
Boy, thank you, Kathy. All right, so as we prepare for the morning offering, or tithes, if you would get that out. And thank you for your faithfulness and giving last year. Thank you for showing up and for recirculating the divine good, the abundance in your lives. As we take our tithes, our offerings in our hands, place it over our hearts if you would like. Repeat after me. I bless this offering in the consciousness of divine good, expressing as me. I give thanks, and so it is. Amen.
follow, follow me. Under the lure of pure enchantment, love will unfold her golden mystery. All night long I will hold you till the stars slip into the sea. I'll weave a crown of rainbows in my hair. Many a moon I'll spend with thee. Love is waiting. Follow, follow me. Love is waiting. Follow, follow me. I am Hawaii. I am forever. I will always be kind to you. May gentle rain wash your cares far out to sea. Come, you dreamers, and dream with me. I am Hawaii. I am the flower, whispering water, enchanted hours. Come to forever. I am Hawaii. I bring you love. I bring you love. I'll weave a crown of rainbows in my hair. Many a moon I'll spend with thee. Love is waiting. Follow, follow me. Love is waiting. Follow, follow me. Hide, 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 hide. Love is waiting. Follow, follow
Thank you, Kathy and Nicole. Thank you. So as we extend our hands to this offering, we bless this offering in the consciousness that it represents infinite substance of which there is never any lack or limitation. And we go from here to be the light of the world. We're the light of the world as we embrace and integrate our shadow side. Yeah? And so it is. Amen. Amen. We have some wonderful prayer chaplains who are prayed up and ready to know the truth with you. If you would like a 1-minute miracle, maybe 2, they will know this truth with you and hold it in confidentiality. It could be something you're praying for, something you're thankful for. We appreciate the work of our prayer chaplains. Let's give them some love. Thank you. All right, remember there's a town hall meeting at 1 o'clock, so we have a little break if you want to get something to eat, and then there will be some specific questions that will be asked of the Board of Trustees and different question and answer time. So feel free to come to the 1 o'clock town hall meeting. And let's all stand and join hands as we sing together our peace song, and Aloha Oi. Love streamers. Thanks for joining us.
See you next week.
Love you.
Hello. Join us live stream. Town Hall, 1 p.m.